Okay, so imagine standing outside on a cold October morning, coffee in hand, watching a sky just absolutely filled with birds. Hundreds of thousands of them. That's a real thing that happens in northeastern California, and today we're going to talk about it. Hey, welcome back to the Land Buyer's Guide. I'm Scott Thomas, founder of landparker.com, where we help everyday people get onto rural land with affordable owner financing, sometimes as low as $100 down and $100 a month. Today we're talking about Modoc County, California, specifically the wildlife. And I think by the end of this, you're going to have a whole new appreciation for this part of the country. So Modoc County sits way up in the northeastern corner of California. We're talking right up near the Oregon border. And it is genuinely one of the least visited regions in the entire state, which, depending on your personality, is either a red flag or an absolute dream. For a lot of the people who listen to this show, it's going to sound like a dream. The thing is, when people think about California wildlife, they're usually not thinking about Modoc County. They're thinking about the coast, the redwoods, maybe the Sierra Nevada. But Modoc is doing something really interesting ecologically. It sits at the intersection of the Great Basin Desert, the Cascade Range foothills, and a huge high desert plateau. And that mix of ecosystems means the wildlife diversity out there is kind of remarkable. We're talking pronghorn antelope, mule deer, black bears, mountain lions, wild horses. And the birding, we'll get into this, is world class. Let's start with Tule Lake National Wildlife Refuge, because honestly it might be the most impressive wildlife spectacle I can point you toward in the entire western United States. It's just north of Modoc County, right near the California-Oregon border. And during fall migration, which typically peaks in October and November, you can see some of the largest concentrations of waterfowl on the continent. We're talking snow geese, Ross's geese, Canada geese, tundra swans, dozens of duck species. And the numbers can be in the hundreds of thousands. It sounds like an exaggeration until you actually see it. The refuge has an auto tour route, so you can see a lot of this from inside your vehicle, which is honestly really convenient when the weather turns cold. And bald eagles overwinter there in solid numbers too, so if you go in winter, bring a pair of binoculars or a spotting scope. One practical thing, check road conditions before you head out, especially after any rain or snow. Some routes through there can get muddy fast. Right next to Tule Lake is Lower Klamath National Wildlife Refuge, and this one has some history behind it. It was actually the first waterfowl refuge ever established in the United States. The shallow marshes there bring in a really different mix of birds: shorebirds, raptors, wading birds, white pelicans in the summer. Birders regularly pick up rare species there. It's one of those places where you feel like you could spend all day and still not see everything. Now, if you're thinking about land in the area, Lower Klamath is also a useful reference point for understanding how water management works in this region. Water is a big topic in Modoc County, and seeing how the refugees manage it gives you some real context when you start evaluating land for agricultural use or off-grid living. Moving closer to town, and by town I mean Alturas, which is the county seat, there's the Modoc National Wildlife Refuge. It's about 7,000 acres of wetlands, uplands, and irrigated meadows along the Pitt River. And what I like about this spot is it's easy to get to, and it's good year-round. You don't have to time your visit perfectly to see something. In the spring and fall, you've got sandhill cranes coming through. In spring and summer, white-faced ibis, American avocets, black-necked stilts. Mule deer graze along the marsh edges in the early morning and evening. There are mink and river otters and beaver in the water channels, golden eagles and prairie falcons working the uplands. It's just a productive spot. And there's a walking trail and some observation areas, so it's a good place to bring kids or anyone who's newer to wildlife watching. Now let's zoom out and talk about Modoc National Forest because it's massive. We're talking nearly 2 million acres, and it covers a huge portion of the county. The terrain shifts around quite a bit in there. You've got lava beds, pine forests, meadows, streams. Each of those environments has its own set of species and its own feel. There are a few areas within the forest worth knowing about specifically. Medicine Lake Highlands sits at a higher elevation and has these lava flows surrounded by pine forests. Black bears show up pretty regularly out there in late summer and fall. Doris and Lily Lakes are smaller mountain lakes that attract osprey, waterfowl, and occasionally a bald eagle. And then there's Devil's Garden, which is this expansive juniper and sagebrush flat where you can find large mule deer herds and some of the best pronghorn viewing in the county. Here's what a lot of people don't realize when they're looking at land near national forest, that adjacency really does matter for your daily life. Forest access can mean great hunting and fishing right out your back door. It means recreational space that essentially extends your property. And wildlife corridors through the forest bring animals onto your land naturally without you having to do anything. I also want to mention the area around Likely and the South Fork Valley. Likely is a small community, and I mean small, in the South Fork Pitt River Valley. The landscape around it is open rangeland mixed with riparian habitat along the river. Pronghorn are pretty common out on those open flats. The river corridor has healthy bird populations, songbirds, raptors, deer, and the vibe is different from the refuges. It's quieter, less trafficked. The kind of place where you can pull over on a gravel road and just watch for an hour without another car going by. If you're seriously considering land in Modoc County, I'd recommend driving through the South Fork Valley just to get a feel for the land character, the topography, the water access, the rhythm of working ranch country. It tells you a lot about what daily life out there actually looks like. All right, so let me share a few practical thoughts for anyone thinking about buying land in this area or already living somewhere rural like this. Early morning and the hour before sunset are going to be your best windows for seeing most wildlife. It's worth planning your day around those times, at least occasionally. A decent pair of binoculars, something in the 842 range, makes a real difference. You don't need to spend a lot of money, but having a pair on hand changes how much you see. If you have a spring, a stock pond, or any water source on your land, that's going to naturally concentrate wildlife activity. You can get consistent viewing without ever leaving your property. It's one of those things that's easy to take for granted, but it really does add a lot to daily life out there. And if you're thinking about keeping livestock, it's worth knowing that mountain lions and bears are present in Modoc County. That's not meant to alarm you. It's just useful context for making decisions about how and where you shelter animals at night. Most experienced ranchers in the area have figured out workable setups. One more thing, and this might be the most useful tip of all, talk to your neighbors. Talk to local ranchers. The knowledge that people who have lived in that area for decades carry around in their heads about where wildlife moves, where the good water is, what to expect in different seasons, that stuff is genuinely irreplaceable. No map or website gives you what a good conversation with a longtime local gives you. So here's the big takeaway from all of this. Modoc County is one of those places that rewards patience. It rewards people who are willing to slow down, pay attention, and actually engage with the landscape around them. And for folks who want to build a rural life, whether that's a homestead, an off-grid setup, a hunting property, or just a quiet retreat from everything, that daily connection to wildlife isn't some bonus feature. For a lot of people, it's the whole reason they're out there. If Modoc County sounds like it might be calling your name, or if you just want to explore what rural land options look like, whether it's California or somewhere else entirely, come check us out at landparker.com. We've got discounted rural properties across the country, and we offer affordable owner financing to make it accessible. $100 down, $100 a month. That's a real starting point for a lot of people. Browse what we've got, reach out with questions, and let's see if we can help you find something that fits. Thanks for listening today. We'll talk again soon.